Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of 1990's Represent. We're still in our second cycle in 1993. In this episode, we're talking about Jurassic Park. I always knew I wanted to do this movie in this series, but I'm kind of lucked out because a local theater was actually showing it recently. I went to it with a couple friends. It had been a long time since I seen Jurassic Park at all, and I think I'd probably last time I saw it in theaters would have been when it came out. Saw it twice in the theaters back in 1993. Had it on VHS, like a widescreen letterbox edition. Don't know if I ever had it on DVD, but I had a blast watching this movie again in the theaters, and it's one of Spielberg's best films. Probably one of the first films I remember just being insanely like hyped up. The 1989 Batman movie was really hyped. I remember hearing a lot about that when I was a kid. But I think Jurassic Park was probably like the one that was just like it was everywhere. Like the marketing campaign on it was like huge. The merchandising campaign was huge. It may have been like aside from like maybe like the Phantom Menace or maybe like Independence Day in the night and a few years later, one of the like most just hyped up movies, and everybody wanted to see it. Had a really cool story about like when it first came out. We'll get to the notes of this in just a little moment. But the weekend that came out, I was hanging out with one of my friends, and he introduced me to one of his other friends that ended up becoming friends with as well. And we hung out that like Friday and like the Saturday after, because I think it came out like in June, like the Saturday opening weekend Saturday. Me and my friend were just riding our bikes through town. His friend basically rolls up on us, and he's like, "Hey, like we're going to go." They're like, "Get in the car. We're going to see Jurassic Park right now." We had bikes with us. They were my friend's bikes, and he just decided to. He's like, "All right, just leave the bikes." And we just left the bikes somewhere in town. I don't know if he ever got them back or not. I think there were two of them, and maybe one got stolen. My friend had like a ton of bikes, but and they were like pretty cheap bikes as well. But still, I was thinking like we didn't have bike locks or anything. We just kind of threw the bikes in like an alley or something. Went to the movie. It was amazing. We were a little bit late, so when we walked into the movie, it was the scene where they're in Montana. So it's Alan Grant and Ellie Statler, basically right before they start talking to John Hammond. So like right when he's doing the whole speech about the raptor's like retractable claw, and the kid is like, "That doesn't seem scary," and he's just like, "Well, this thing's a pack hunter." He's like, "It explodes your intestines when it cuts you." Again, film was amazing, and then we all went back, and I think we ended up going back to my friend's house, but we ended up like playing like a bunch of like Super Nintendo or something like that. It's just like a core '90s experience. One of my best memories from that summer, particularly, but just also for overall in the decade, where we just basically we were planning on seeing the movie at some point, but they just rolled up. They're like, "Get in the car, we're going right now." Just an amazing experience. I have some notes here about it. We're going to get to those, and then like we'll discuss the plot and all that. So like I said, I recently rewatched this in theaters and had an amazing time. It's just an incredibly well put together movie, like directing wise, cast wise. The visual effects in this movie still hold up, and it was kind of that weird, somewhat like in between time, like where Star Wars came out and it kind of changed, the visual effects going forward. I think the next big visual effects shift would have been between like 1991 and 1993 with like Terminator 2 and Jurassic Park. I think that kind of ushered in a new era of kind of like visual effects. Then stuff got more computerized. This was a little bit like it still uses practical effects, but it also used computer effects. It used animatronics. Just like visually, it's still incredible looking. But we got our notes here. So first released June 11th, 1993. I think it premiered like a couple days before that. But general audiences were able to see it on June 11th. So I guess we would have went on June 12th. Let's see here. Had a $63 million budget. It ended up grossing over $1 billion. I don't know if that was just the theatrical release or if that includes Like I think in 2013 they did like a 20th anniversary 3D re-release. So I don't know if that's including that or if that's just 1.08, oh, sorry, 1.058 billion overall, but still pretty impressive. Um, let's see here. There were four studios initially that were kind of bidding on this film. It ended up going to Universal because Steven Spielberg wanted it. So they ended up getting the script or the rights to the book for the film for $1.5 million. That was before the book was even published. So like a lot of these movie deals are signed even before a book is even out. So just think the concept of an amusement park with dinosaurs is an interesting enough concept that studios were willing to kind of bid on it without the book even being, like, knowing if it would be successful or not at all. They retained Michael Crichton to help write the film. They changed up a lot of the stuff because I did reading the book after this came out. There are certain characters that are characterized a little bit differently. The book is much more violent, but they had to tone that down to get their PG-13 rating. Like I said, the marketing on this film was huge. The merchandising I used to have, I don't know if I still have it now, but it was like the Dilophosaurus model, like just basically cut it out of a frame and glue it together. Very basic model. Never painted it, but had that. I remember having like a couple of the McDonald's like drink cups. There's just toys, like everything. I had a Jurassic Park shirt at one point. Speaking of other merch, I have this book. It's one of my favorite books because it's basically just the making of Jurassic Park. I picked this up at a bookstore right after the movie came out. It's really cool. Don't know if might still be available, like used, but it's a cool book. My favorite section is this back section right here, the orange, because it's actually storyboards from the movie. So you've got like Nedry encountering the spinner or the Dilophosaurus. The coolest section of the thing here, let me see if I can find it. If it's in here, there's that one, the escape from the T-Rex. There's the main road attack, which is still like an incredible scene or sequence. Let me see if they show that one, because the main road attack it's a huge section of the storyboard. Yeah, so this is the main road attack outside of the T-Rex enclosure. So storyboards for that. The guy's got the remote, what's it called, night vision goggles on. But yeah, the making of Jurassic Park, a very cool book, goes into kind of like just like there's like a whole bunch of like behind the scenes photos, as well as like stills from the film. We have some like casting photos as well, but just a very interesting book. Got that. Let's see here. So yeah, like I said, the visual effects, Stan Winston's animatronics are just incredible in this film. They had like a 20-foot tall like T-Rex like animatronic model. The sound design is incredible. Like when the T-Rex roars, it like still like shakes the seats and stuff. It's just amazing. And speaking of music and sound, the music in this film, John Williams' score is basically perfect. It's one of his best scores. Easily top three film scores for me for him. It might even be number one. I would really have to consider the other two that are my favorites are The Empire Strikes Back and Raiders of the Lost Ark. But Jurassic Park, the score, some of John Williams' best work, like period. The soundtrack to this was actually the first CD I ever got as well, because we had a CD player that we, for some reason, never hooked up in the 80s. We had it, and in 1993, I said, hey, we should hook this up, and we hooked it up, and then my grandparents ended up being out that weekend, and they bought me the soundtrack to Jurassic Park, which I still have to this day. Still an amazing, like I said, an amazing, amazing score. The casting in this movie is incredible. This is probably my introduction to Jeff Goldblum, because I remember seeing him a few months later in the Invasion of the Body Snatchers, something like the late 70s. I had a sci-fi class in middle school, and that was one of the films we watched, was the remake with, I think it's Donald Sutherland, Leonard Nimoy, and Jeff Goldblum. Laura Dern's in this, amazing, and then I saw her later that year in the Clint Eastwood movie, not Clint Eastwood, I think Clint Eastwood, yeah, it's a Clint Eastwood directed film, But with Kevin Costner, I think A Perfect World, she uses that. But to me, the big takeaways for this movie are Jeff Goldblum's character of Ian Malcolm. He's like some of the serious. He's got like some very serious scenes. He also has some of the the comic relief. He's a little bit of both. You have Wayne Knight playing Dennis Nedry, who is just hilarious. It's a comic relief character, but he his portrayal of Dennis Nedry is just incredible. And this may even be the first time I ever saw Samuel L. Jackson in a movie as well, as like one of the like park like technicians. But he's in this, and the cast is basically perfect. There's just a ton of different dinosaurs that they featured, even though some of the dinosaurs were not from the Jurassic period necessarily. There's just tons of like there's like Triceratops and Brachiosaurs, Tyrannosaurus or T Rex, and like Velociraptors. Velociraptors are awesome as they basically serve a like a weird kind of like villain role. But it's just kind of like, are they really villains? It's just kind of like their nature kind of thing. I think they kind of are supposed to be somewhat of the villainous dinosaurs, if there are, if you can really even have a villain in this movie. I guess Nedry, because he's trying to steal the embryos for another like competitor, and basically a lot of the stuff that gets shut down and stuff gets out because of him. But that's not really. I definitely think it's a cool look at taking something out of its natural like time period and putting it into a new time period. Um, like, what are the like implications of doing that? That's why I really like Ian Malcolm. He's got the great scene where he's saying, "You guys were really too preoccupied if you could do something. You didn't think if you should do something." So he's great. We're gonna get into the plot now. So plot basically starts off, and like I said, the first time I saw this, when we missed the scene with the raptor cage being installed, and then one guard gets killed, and he's like, "Shoot her, shoot her." So they're doing that. It cuts to Montana where there's a dig going on, or no, sorry, not to Montana, to somewhere in South America where they actually find the amber. So that's a scene I missed initially when my first viewing. But when in 1993, like I said, I saw it like 1 week, and like a week later I saw it the second time. But they have the amber, and then it cuts to where Alan Grant and Ellie Statler are. They're digging up a dinosaur, and John Hammond comes up and explains to them. He's like, "I got a proposal for you guys. Like, come out to my island." There's like the insurance lawyers there trying to like make sure that everything is like on the up and up. The flight over to the Jurassic Park, when the actual Jurassic Park score like kicks in, like the iconic ba 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 ba, like that reveal of the island is still incredible. The reveal of they get there, they see the brachiosaurs just walking around, like just the first reveal of the like actual dinosaurs in the movie is still incredible. They meet up with the other like people, like Ian Malcolm's there now, and they are doing a tour of the kind of like the park. They're seeing like how the dinosaurs got created with the Mr. DNA like video and all that. Meanwhile, Nedry is basically getting all his stuff planned so he can basically steal the embryos. Like, oh, I said I missed the part where he meets up with a guy. He's like, "Hey, like put him in this what's it called, shaving cream can," and it's like temperature control to keep the embryos cold. But Nedry's doing all his stuff. They initially go on the first tour of the island, and they do this great thing in like horror movies where they don't really show you the monster right away. Like in Jaws, you don't see Jaws until much later in the film. Great reveals like that. So like they do a thing where they kind of foreshadow the Dilophosaurus. You don't get to see it. Same thing with the T-Rex. They actually get to the T-Rex. They try to lure the T-Rex out with the goat. Nothing happens. They continue on. They find the sick with the Triceratops, and Laura Dern is digging through the dinosaur poop to see if it's like why it's sick. Then a huge storm comes in, and stuff starts kind of like shutting down. Like Nedry's stuff is starting to kind of like come into place. So some systems are going offline, and basically when the power actually does go out, it goes out right near the T-Rex cage, and the T-Rex gets out. and you basically see the goat's gone, and then you see the goat like leg land on, or like part of it lands on the car, and the kids start screaming, and it's just like classic horror movie like kind of stuff with dinosaurs, and it's Spielberg's done this before with Jaws, so it definitely is still like stuff that he knows how to make. But then it cuts to the T Rex doing the escaping the enclosure, the main road attack, where it is still just utterly terrifying because you see the cup of water. It's like just that effect is so like terrifying still. And then like when you see like the eye of the T Rex like looking into the car, it still is like pretty spooky looking, and it still looks incredible. So they get attacked by the T Rex. They eventually escape. Like the kinds of pairings pair up differently. Like they're like the characters are here, characters are there. Now the characters are it's Alan Grant with the kids. It's Ellie and Ian Malcolm are now like a team kind of thing, doing their own thing. But they basically escape. They get down into this valley where there's like a huge stampede. The T Rex shows up again, and I guess prior to that is when Nedry is trying to escape, and he gets attacked by the spitter, the Dilophosaurus. Um, Again, pretty terrifying because of the way their acid blinds you. So like you're getting blinded and paralyzed while it eats you, and you see his jeep is just like shaking during that scene. Pretty terrifying stuff. But they escape. They then eventually try to reboot the entire system because they can't get into the system because Nedry's locked it all out. So they basically do a system wide like a cold reboot, but that requires them going out to a main power generator and actually powering it up. Meanwhile, during this time, the Raptors are also loose now too. And the Raptors are probably the more like it's weird because T Rex is like I don't want to say he's a hero because like he's just being T Rex, but he serves kind of as like a because like he's fighting the Raptors who are kind of considered to be like by a lot of people some of the villains in the film. The way that they paint the Raptors is kind of like they're more villainous than most of the dinosaurs. But the Raptors are loose now. They're trying to reset the system. They have to go through like this into this bunker and switch it on. That's when the great reveal of Samuel L. Jackson's hand is on Laura Dern's shoulder. She turns around and it's just his arm, like he's been eaten by the Raptors at this point. The game warden is awesome because the whole scene with Clever Girl is just incredible. Like he is in like the field, he sees the raptor like off to the side, and then it just basically just pops him from the side, and he's like Clever Girl because Alan Grant describes the raptor initially being a pack hunter. It's like it might be looking at you, you're looking at it, but you don't know about the two raptors on the side, and that's where they actually will like come in from the side and just like grab you. But eventually they get the park back up and running. They Alan Grant drops the kids at like the visitor center, and they're eating breakfast, and then you just see the callback to the water cup. You see the Jello just shaking. Um, it's because those raptors are also like now in there, and there's like the whole scene where they're running around like the kitchen, trying to escape the raptors is also just very terrifying. They eventually get back to the research center or like the main like entry area, and now it's the raptors versus the survivors. So it's Ellie and Alan Grant, and Ian Malcolm is like not in that scene, but he's still like around. But there's like basically a showdown between the raptors and the humans, and then as like right when the raptor is ready to lunge at the humans, you just see the T Rex come in and chomp on one of them, and the other one like jumps on its back and like starts fighting it, and then it eventually gets bitten and thrown off, and the T Rex just roars, and the scene where like the sign falls down in front of the T Rex where it says "When dinosaurs ruled the earth" is just an iconic like moment in film history. It's just so cool. In my viewing that I recently saw, people were cheering and clapping when Jeff Goldblum was just like laid out. He's just like got his shirt unbuttoned. It's an iconic scene. Jeff Goldblum is just great in this movie. But yeah, the character of Ian Malcolm is also like rock star scientist, which I think is kind of like a very cool like character like choice there. But just an iconic classic film. The Lost World is also fun. I remember seeing that like opening weekend. Jurassic Park 3 is like the only one of these movies, the three initially ones that I didn't see. Um, Jurassic World that came out, and I thought Jurassic World was a nice kind of throwback to the first one. It wasn't nearly as good, but I had fun with Jurassic World. Like Fallen Kingdom, I thought was really bad. And then whatever one came out last year, the one where they actually got Sam Neill and Laura Dern again, and Jeff Goldblum. I ended up not seeing that. I heard that one was really bad, but I might check the ones I've missed. I might check out at some point. But I think the original is clearly probably the best. Lost World is up there too. Lost World is still a really good, just summer blockbuster movie. Jurassic Park probably like one of the like Jaws. Jurassic Park definitely kind of like, well, Jaws created the blockbuster, but Jurassic Park back when it came out was just massive, and it was really interesting because Spielberg went through from in the same year releasing Jurassic Park, a very big budget blockbuster, like somewhat science fiction because it's like using the DNA, so it's like somewhat sci-fi action film, an action slash horror. I would call it a horror film because the dinosaurs are pretty scary. But then releasing a much more serious movie later in the year with Schindler's List. I think this is the year that basically like put Spielberg like into that like upper echelon of just like greatest directors. I think this was kind of like the start of that. Because up to that point, he had released some really, really good stuff, like all the Indiana Jones films are classic, Jaws, and so on, E.T. But I think Jurassic Park, the combination of Jurassic Park and Schindler's List, just being like both ends, like two opposite ends of the spectrum, like one being super serious and the one other being just like big budget blockbuster on one end as well. But I've been looking forward to making this video for a while, but I think that's going to wrap it up for Jurassic Park. Still an incredible film. I would highly recommend checking it out. But again, that's going to do it for now. So remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. We'll be back again a few days with a video game. Don't know what that's going to be just yet. We'll be back in a few days with that. But that will do it for now. So thanks again for watching. Take care. Have a good one. See ya.